this is a hard video to film. So I'm just gonna go for it. Okay, Assalamu alaikum, guys. If you came across this video because you searched for for it in the title and it popped up, then I'm sorry. I know this absolutely sucks. I know it's hard. If it's of any solace, I just want you to know that the reason that I'm even able to make this video is because I've been there, done that. There are a lot of people who have been through it, who came out on the other side. I know it doesn't feel like it, but there is another life after this, and things do get better. It takes time. Everyone's journey is different. There's no timeline, but there are tools, there are things that we know can help us, and so I want to present those things to you guys. So this is how to get over heartbreak in Islam. Now obviously there's not a surah in the Quran called Surah al-Huzn, the chapter of grief. So this is a collection of some of the tools that we know from our faith that helps us get through grief, and this is a grieving process. This also very much is going to be a compilation of some of the pieces of advice and tools that I found when I was going through it, and that I saw a lot of other people who had gone through similar experiences benefited from. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So first and foremost, I think the most important aspect of starting this journey of healing and getting over this hump is committing to moving forward. Now, what does this mean? This sometimes is the hardest thing for people to even get to, because you might still be in the bargaining stage where you're thinking, I would do anything to get back what I had. And I can't say don't make this decision emotionally. Don't be emotional about it. Of course, you're going to be emotional about it. You're an emotional human being going through an extremely emotional experience. You are going to have an emotional reaction. But you can't necessarily control the emotions that come up. You can control what you commit to despite those emotions. So committing to moving forward, to me, when I think about it, that is saying, okay, regardless of what I am feeling, and when those emotions come up, and when I'm hurt and grieving and wanting things to be the way they used to be, whether it was good for me or not, I am not going to do anything that is going to pull me back into that situation. I'm not calling, I'm not texting, I'm not allowing myself to spiral into regret. I'm not making negotiations. I am just focusing on seeing a life after this experience. I think a huge point to be made with moving forward is that it very much is an exercise in tawakkul. And tawakkul is such an important concept in our deen. Tawakkul is the complete embodiment of trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, trust in His plans, trust in what He allows us to go through. And recognizing that when these things happen, there's a hadith, right? The how strange is the affair of the believer, that when something good happens to them, that he's grateful for it. And when something bad in life happens, he is patient through it, and he is rewarded for it. So tawakkul is recognizing that no matter which direction our life is going in, it is for the betterment of us, because Allah, who is wiser than us, who loves us more than we could ever love ourselves, is allowing us to journey through that. And the journey is supposed to lead to Him at the end of the day. So remember that pain is temporary. And having tawakkul is a practice. It's an everyday practice, and that means not doing the things. There's two ways, right? There's doing the things that are going to move you forward, they're going to propel you forward, and not doing the things that are going to pull you back. And sometimes you got to figure out which is going to work for you. Some of us really like positive reinforcement, some of us like negative reinforcement. So I would highly recommend just starting off with getting rid of anything that is going to be a reminder of pulling you backwards and not allowing you to commit to moving forward. Getting rid of any memories that you have, even if it's like gifts you got or whatever it might be. Get rid of those. If you don't want to donate or throw them out, put them away somewhere that you don't have access to them. Any, messages, emails, pictures, whatever it might be, just get those out of your head. Get them off of your phone. Don't even allow yourself to look at them. This is regardless of what status you're in. I really don't care at this point, whether this is if you're going through a divorce, or if you were engaged and you had an engagement broken up, or if this was something that was like a haram relationship. I don't care, because At the end of the day, that's what Los Fontana's job to care. I just know you're hurting, and therefore I want to help you through that. The second thing that I would say is give yourself a set period of time to be in the dumps. Like, you probably know yourself. Some people know that they're someone who, I'm going to be sad for like a week, and then I'm just going to get back to it. And other people know that they're someone who's much more likely to dwell in the sadness and get triggered by it and feel really low. I think giving yourself a period of time, the reason it's helpful is because it gives you the space to grieve, but it also doesn't let it in your life interfere with the things that you need to do. So you might want a week or two or whatever is a reasonable time for you. I can't make that determination, but whatever is a reasonable time for you. You're like, in this period of time, I'm going to be as sad as I want to be. I'm going to like allow myself to fully grieve. But at the end of the day, you still have a life outside of this. I don't know if maybe you have a job, or you're in school, or you have kids, or you have family members, you have other commitments. You still have to get to those things. So give yourself a break, almost like if you were injured, right? If you broke a leg or you had surgery, you're not going to jump right back into work in all of the other life situations immediately. You're going to wait until you've at least had enough healing to be able to get back into those things. So figure out what that is for yourself. If you can be transparent with the people around you that you're going through something, and obviously they can lighten your burden. If it's a situation where you can't, you don't get sick days off for heartbreak, then just committing to doing at least a bare minimum and like letting yourself get through that. And then once you get home, you can crash. The third thing I will say is that when you get through that peak period, right? There's the way that I describe this, and I remember I had a phone call from a friend of mine who she had called, and she was basically like, I know you kind of went through this, and here's my situation, and I'm devastated. And you could tell she was just like, she was in the thick of it. And I was like, whoa, you forget how horrible it feels. And I remember just telling her, hey, the biggest thing that I can tell you is that over time, as the weeks pass, that intensity that you feel, the heights of the intensity go down, and those moments of like feeling really, really low are not as frequent. So the intensity decreases and the frequency of those moments decrease as well. And that's just a product of our biology. That's just how memory works. It's almost amazing when you think about it, like a lost Fontana actually made that protective. That as time passes by, that deep connection, that pair bonding that you had with that person, or whatever it might have been in terms of the degree, it slowly starts to weaken as your brain rewires itself. This person is no longer in the vicinity, is no longer in your self-concept. And so because of that, your brain has to rewire itself. And so it's going to, and you're going to see the effects of it, because as time goes on, you're just not going to experience the intensity of the emotion as you used to. But the moments are going to come. They're still going to come. You can't rush it. You can't end it. You have to let yourself through. The only way through, think of it like a tunnel door. It's only one. There's no way under. There's no way over. There's only through, and you have to get to the other side. So when those moments come, if you are not able to sit, in it alone, you can call someone. If you have someone in your life who you can trust in that way. Other things you can do is you can, text a friend. If you have friends or group chat or something where you can just kind of like emotion dump, and they don't have to affirm you or anything. You can just kind of put it out there like, hey, I'm really struggling with this right now, and like here's what I'm trying to do about it. Or maybe you're not even doing anything about it, you're just feeling. Having that is really helpful, but not everyone can have that. The other thing is you can journal. Journaling can be really helpful, and if you're nervous about someone ever finding your journal, there are apps that are password protected that you can use, so that can be very helpful. The next thing I'll say is one of the best things you can do for yourself is track your progress. You're in the thick of it. You obviously are not having a good time, but there's going to be a point of time where you can look back and be like, oh, I went through that and it really sucked, but like I'm not there anymore. Having something you can look back on to show your own personal progress is actually very empowering. And so you can do it in a multitude of ways. You might want to do it if you're someone who likes to write. You might want to journal it out. I've heard of people doing a photo journal where they just took a picture every day, and it didn't have to be a picture of yourself. It was just a picture of something. Maybe you go outside and there's a picture of a pretty flower that you like, so you take it, or the moon looked really pretty that day, and so you took a picture of that. Again, in this, you can put it in an album in your phone, but I find that this is just really helpful, again, because you're able to look back and you're like, oh my gosh, like there are other moments in life outside of the grief that I'm feeling, and it helps to bring you back to the present instead of just dwelling in the past. Next tip is going to be make dua, and make a lot of it. You have the opportunity for the greatest closeness or nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you are in grief and when you are heartbroken, because that's when you're most vulnerable. And I'm not someone to romanticize grief or emotions. I very much would rather not experience any of those emotions, but the reality is we are going to. And so in that vulnerability, it allows for this really deep connection with Allah. So it's like, if you're gonna go through such a horrible time, you might as well put it to use, right? You might as well let that be a time where you're more connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That you might as well make it a time where your du'as are actually, are as sincere as they possibly can, because you literally are pouring out your heart. And let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala heal that for you. Allah is a jabbar, right? He is the one who, like, he reconfigures things for us. He can heal things that humanly we couldn't even imagine being healed. So don't lose this prime time to build that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Next tip is day to day. Obviously, again, everyone's a little different, but I just remember it being the days after were very overwhelming for me. And I know a lot of people experience sadness, but I felt very anxious. Like, I felt really like, I don't know what my life's going to look like now, right? What is very helpful in that situation is setting daily goals where it was like, okay, these are the 3 things I'm going to accomplish in my day. And if I accomplish these 3 things, I'm good. And it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. It can literally be, I need to take a shower today. I need to do a load of laundry. I need to make a phone call for work. I need to go get gas for my car. I need to, prep lunch. I need just 3 things or 5 things. And sometimes what you'll find is when you accomplish those 3 things, you're like, oh, I can do 2 more things. And this is a point in time you just prioritize what needs to be prioritized and let go of the things that you can let go of, so that you're not draining yourself. Because the reality of it is your cortisol level, like just from a biological standpoint, this hormone called cortisol is going to be much more heightened. That is a stress hormone. It makes you very tired. It is not something that our body likes to have at high levels frequently or for very long periods of time. So you don't want to overstress yourself when your cortisol is high. But with that being said, don't isolate. Some people need to distract for a little bit. That's fine if you need to be someone who distracts yourself for, a bit, but don't isolate. Force yourself to get out. Especially, man, getting outside, like having the sun on your skin is so important for your mental well-being. Let yourself be out of the environment that you're in. Again, bringing back that novelty, that newness, reminding yourself that, hey, there's something to the present moment that isn't my past, and that's good. That's so important. So go see your friends, go out, go sit in the backyard, go for a walk, like do something that is going to take you out of the rut that you're feeling like you're in. Do all the cringy things like, people want to go to like fancy coffee shops and get pictures of their lattes. Do whatever it is. Go to the gym if you have the motivation. Like, if you want to be that person that gets a revenge body, do it. This is a good time to go, because at least you can burn off a lot of that energy that you have. Really lean into friendships and other relationships you have in your life. If you don't have those relationships, don't let that be a reason you grieve even more and think, oh man, like I let go of these relationships. That's okay. There is time and space to build that later on. Then just build your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't guilt trip yourself. Don't let yourself fall into deeper and deeper self-pity because you poured a lot of energy into something and now you feel like it's no longer serving you. It might be an interesting take. I just imagine that this would be very helpful for a lot of people. I mentioned this cortisol earlier. That stress hormone affects a lot of things. It affects quite literally every portion of your body. And when cortisol is released, norepinephrine, which is like adrenaline, is also released. Makes you feel really crappy. There is a supplement called Ashwagandha. And if I remember, I will. Let me remember to put that link in there for you guys. That actually helps lower cortisol levels. It might be worth starting to take that. Honestly, just helping your body kind of cope with a little better physiologically would be helpful. They actually did a study where they had people take ibuprofen, Motrin, and they found that taking that when, like after a breakup, actually helped reduce the pain level. Because yes, it's emotional pain, but every emotion is still a physiological response. Every emotion is still a biological response. Every emotion is still a product of neurochemicals that are being neurotransmitters. They're being released in our brain, and hormones are then being released in all of these different functions. So we can affect those chemically. So why not use that to your advantage? I don't know, take a pop of Motrin. Maybe that will help. Ibuprofen, if you need the dosage, ibuprofen 600 milligrams every 6 hours. For people who do not have kidney issues, is the safe dosage. Just throwing that out there in general. PA brain just came online, so that might be helpful for sure. The last thing I will say, or maybe not the last thing, is start dreaming again. When you get to a point, like sometimes what can be helpful, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to like be 100% at 1 week and being like, hey, yeah, let me start dreaming again. But dream about a future, a life that is different than the future you had initially had in your mind. That's the hardest part about grief. It's like the future that you had in your head, all those plans that you made are no longer viable. They're not going to happen. And so we start to freak out because it feels so insecure, and we're human beings. We don't like insecurity. So to rebuild that security, to allowing yourself to say, okay, what can my life look like? What do I want in my life without the picture that I had painted previously? That can be really exciting because now you can see this pain that you had is actually an opportunity. It's an opportunity for change. A lot of people will say, hey, figure out the things that you used to like before you ever met this person. And it's like, sure, you can do that. And there might be hobbies that you had or activities that you were a part of that you maybe let go, or relationships that you just connected from. But also, it's okay to start trying new things or discovering new activities or finding, I don't know, like a whole new sense of identity now that this is over. Another thing that I want to mention is be mindful to not go to the extreme. You'll find a lot of people who go to the complete, and it becomes very emotionally driven, where they become very counter to what they used to be, even when what they used to be was something very beautiful. And sometimes it's almost like a personal rebellion. Like this version of me is a version that got hurt or allowed herself to be hurt or allowed himself to be hurt. And because of that, I'm going to change my personality traits. Or you become very bitter about so many things in your life. There are certain qualities about you that are just absolutely beautiful. Obviously better the ones that are not beautiful, but don't feel like you have to completely revamp and come out as a completely different person because you were hurt. The other thing I will say, is that don't let this make you bitter in the long term. Don't be that man or woman that says like all men are this and all women are this, because it's just not true. It's not true. It's hard. I get it. Like I get where it comes from. I understand. But at the end of the day, the whole point of this video is trying to help you guys find things that will serve you better in the healing process and help you get through the grief. And that is something that just doesn't help you get through the grief. In fact, it forces you to stay with it longer, because now in the future, when you're looking at other options, because there probably will be a future when you do that, even though it might not seem like it now, you're going to be looking at it through this bitter lens that is just something that's still connecting you to that experience, versus being optimistic and realizing like, no, there are good people out there. And inshallah, as you build yourself up in, I talk about this in other marriage videos, go look for them on my channel. Premarital, look up premarital, or wife and husband, look those keywords up on my channel. You'll find the videos about bettering yourself is so important. And when you're bettering yourself, you are widening the lens of what you're looking for, and you're going to attract people who are also bettering themselves, because those types of people look for one another, so don't let yourself be bitter. Don't do that to yourself. You deserve much better. It's super cool if you can have actually a calendar where you mark the 3-month anniversary, 6-month anniversary, 9-month anniversary after this whole situation happens. And then you can look back at your progress and be like, wow, 3 months ago, I thought I was going to die, but look at where I am now. Or 6 months ago, I thought that the world was going to end, and look at me now. And then even at those 3 months, you can see, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not over XYZ, or I need to work on this, or this much time passed, but these goals I had for myself, I didn't commit to. Or maybe it means, oh my gosh, I'm still not, and you might need more professional help. That's okay too. But having those time stamps, not for you to grieve and go back, but just to be able to appreciate your progress, that can be really helpful. So those are the tips that I had. I hope this was helpful. If I think of other things, I'll make a part 2 to this video, but please comment your ideas, your thoughts around this. If you have any tips, if you've been through this and you have tips and things that were really helpful to you, let me know. I just think about it as like, how do you prime yourself emotionally to be able to heal through this faster? How do you utilize what you have in your space to heal faster? And then my dad's grabbing the laundry. And then what are the things that can help push you forward in terms of dreaming, setting goals, and just like using these mental tricks to get yourself through the grieving period? All right, guys. I hope this was helpful. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. And assalamu alaikum.